Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Tactical Baby Gear Podcast. Today, we've got with us world-famous internet goofball, John Malecki.
No, but I got to put that on a t-shirt. That's a good one.
Yeah, internet goofball. I mean, that's, what you've turned yourself.
Semi-professional goofball.
That's right. That's right. No, but seriously, you were a professional football player for a while. So I want to get into that because that's like a very... something I know very little about you. I just know that you played for the Steelers, and I'm sure there's much more to that story, and I'd love to hear some of it. And you since have transitioned into I guess you call yourself a YouTuber, but a woodworker, really, I guess. And I'm sure you have clients that you're doing a lot of things for, but you're a woodworker who has a big YouTube channel, and you seem to have a lot of momentum right now. So good for you. Very cool. And I can't wait to hear more about it. You also are a father. You've got a little girl now, which is how we got connected. So that's great. Yeah. So welcome to the show. And
yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Privileged to be here. Let's get tactical.
Yeah, let's do it. So, I found out about you originally, I think through Black Rifle Coffee Table. It was how I think I was originally exposed to you. When was that? 2 years ago or so?
Yeah, that'd have been, I think that was the summer of 2019. We delivered that sucker.
2.5, 3 years ago now, I guess. So I think that was the two and a half.
Yeah.
Years? Whatever
yeah.
that is.
Math.
Yeah. I don't do math either. So that was when I was first exposed to you. And then I sort of like paid attention a little bit. And then Alex, Mr. Build It, is a buddy of mine. We've done some stuff with him and sponsored some videos. And then I saw you guys battling out with your little build-offs and all this fun stuff. I'm like, oh, this is hilarious. And then I was just like watching more of y'all's videos, and I'm like, these guys are just having a good time. And, doing what you want to do, the way you want to do it, trying to, do it the right way. And then you're like, we're probably doing this totally wrong. I'm sure you're going to let us know in the comments, all stuff like these guys are just having a blast, and they're enjoying what they're doing, and you guys are having some momentum, and this is awesome. Right. So, that's been really cool to watch.
For sure. Like our whole MO here is to show people that, working with your hands, working in a shop can be a blast. It can be a lot of fun. We're in a unique situation as, being content creators to showcase those kinds of things to our audience. And for the most part, I think people look at, say, metalworking, woodworking, shop work as being like dark, mysterious, dirty, and no fun. And so we bring all the opposite to the table.
Well, and what I love about it is how
we enjoy what we do.
Yeah, what I love about it was really like how transparent you were. Like when something went wrong or wasn't right, or you screwed up a cut or measured something wrong or whatever, it's always Jordan's fault anyway. So no, yeah. but just like most people would be like, oh, we're not going to show that on our video that we screwed this up. Let's fix it and just do it right and pretend like we're so awesome at what we do. But you guys are like the total opposite. Like, yeah, we totally fucked that up.
Yeah, and I think what a lot of people forget is that there's a lot of real humans behind the camera, right? And we're definitely like that. I got into making content as a way for me to, one, showcase like the process and what was going on to my clients, and two, give back to the community that basically taught me kind of everything I know for the most part. So in that regard, people tend to forget that people relate to people, and communities built around relationships and relatability. And we hit a point in making content, and this was probably like 2017 or 18 for me. I had a river table video pop off. It was it's still my highest viewed video on my channel. And I was very, in the voice of teaching and education forward. It was a forced voice for me. Don't get me wrong. I do love teaching, and I do love educating in regards to a multitude of things. But as far as content goes, it just wasn't like, I didn't love it. Like I liked to do it, but then like I didn't love who I was. And so when I brought on Sam, who's our videographer, and kind of like my right-hand helper, he and I started to notice that when we were putting more of like our back and forth and rapport and content, comments started to build, and a lot more engagement started to happen as far as like people relating to Sam or myself, or some banter between the two of us. And we started to see that our audience was much more about people enjoying the experience of us experiencing the build as well as learning from the build itself.
Which is what I was connected to as well, which is why I was like, these guys are having a blast and just like showing all the screw ups and the goofing off and the whatever.
And so we put that forward now, and like the whole, the whole voice of my content and my channel, myself, and then anyone else involved is that like we have a blast doing what we do. We're super blessed to be able to do it. And we're going to try to inspire others to get their hands dirty, make something for themselves.
Get a little squirrely. That's like the whole mantra is like, get squirrely, get a little crazy here. That's fun.
We watched this like a couple years ago. Sam and I were watching I think it's Kenny Ledbetter. He does like the Canadian dude who has a pretty hilarious like sitcom. And there was this like grilling little skit they did. He used the phrase, squirrely dandelion. And I was like, I like that, because we've used the phrase like that's pretty squirrely, like before. And so we're doing a lot of things that are for the first time, or we don't really have an idea of how they're supposed to professionally be done. So we just kind of get it done. And the mantra of like get squirrely is pretty much that.
It's like figure it out.
Get it done, figure it out. Yeah. And people dig it. And because let's be honest, if you've ever done it, you got a home, I assume. You got a business. You probably have to do some stuff you never did before. Well, and you got to get it done.
Yeah.
Get squirrely. Get her done.
My background is actually in building custom cars before I started this. So
squirrely is probably what you saw before your work went into it.
Yes. But there's times, I don't think there's a lot of things. I mean, when you're building something, especially custom and one-off and very unique, like you get squirrely, like you just got to figure it out. Like you said, it's like you figure it out, you get it done, and hopefully everything's done the right way and lasts and holds up, and the customer's happy or whatever. But anyway,
I think one thing we'd like to try to put forward with that mentality is that there's nothing wrong with that, right? Is that like you don't have to be this like super refined professional 24/7, 365 in everything you do. It's all right to have a little fun, enjoy yourself, get a little squirrely. Make some stuff that's outside the box and do some stuff that makes you happy. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where we live.
Right on. Let's back up a little bit. Let's talk about football. Listen, I don't know anything about football. I'm not into football.
Shame.
I know. Talk to me about your football sort of career. How did you go? Take us back. Give us the story.
Yeah.
Scoop.
So time machine, we're back. It's pick a year in the 90s. I'm a young man. I'm 33 years old for context, and I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So if you're a football fan in any regard, I grew up 20 minutes outside of where the Pittsburgh Steelers are housed. And so grew up, Pittsburgh's huge on football. And because of that, I grew up loving it, watching it. My parents started to let me play. I think it was in 6th or 7th grade. And I was a semi-large child then. So I got out there and I just had a blast ramming my face into things and physically imposing my will. I kid you, dude, Beav, I kid you not, till the day I stopped playing. That was my MO. It's just like out there. I cracked multiple helmets in college and stuff. But I loved playing football when I was a kid, right? And I remember being in like some grade that I did a little capsule, and it's buried somewhere, that I said my dream was to play in the NFL. And it's like written, I drew a little Green Bay Packer because I liked the colors at the time. And I was dumb. I didn't know what a real football team looked like. But I always loved football. And so I put a lot of time and effort into it. And because it was so popular where I'm from, made every friend that I still have to this day growing up playing football. And I have ones that obviously didn't play, but majority of my buddies and I grew up through midgets all the way through high school. And then a lot went on to play college football. So we got to the high school phase, and we had a really solid and connected group of guys. Went on to win a state championship our senior year. And I was awarded a scholarship to the University of Pittsburgh to play football, which was phenomenal. Went there, and I ended up being a 4-year letterman, a captain, all first team, all conference kind of thing. Took took my skills to the NFL, where I was picked up as an undrafted free agent in 2010. The Titans signed me. I was there for the summer. They released me the second week of training camp, got picked up by the Cleveland Browns. When I went there, finished training camp, they released me at the end of training camp. I was home for a couple of weeks. Then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers picked me up. They released me. Cleveland picked me back up. They released me. Tampa picked me back up. Finished the season with Tampa. Go into the next season, show up day one. They cut me. So we hit, I think, 5 or 6 cuts in one season. I literally fly down to Tampa, paid all this money in the offseason, my rookie year, to get like myself in shape and stuff and ready for the season. It was a lockout year, so we didn't have any summer activities. Usually I have OTAs and stuff. There was none of those. So I show, like I said, I show up for training camp and I'm walking out of a workout. Guy grabs me. And I mean, that's as nonchalant as it is. Like, hey, John, real quick. We're going to go a different direction. We're going to let you go. If you could just sign this paper. I mean, we can cuss, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm fucking signing my release form on the wall, covered in sweat, showered up, got on a plane, flew home, sitting in my living room. And I was just like, this sucks. You know, I just put 7 months of like training in a lockout season where you don't have any, you know, we went down, I paid for a trip to go down to Florida and train with the team that at the time, the quarterback there, you know, Freeman had a bunch of guys come in. And I was like, man, this is going to be awesome. I've got an opportunity to make this team. They were really high on me. The O-line coach was great when I got there. Well, they fired him. And this is a lesson I learned in the NFL, real quick following. But they sent me home, and I'm sitting there like, you know, twiddling my thumbs. I was probably drinking. And my agent calls, and he's like, hey, how fast can you be in Latrobe? And Latrobe is where the Steelers practice, have their training camp. Yeah. And I was like, I don't know, 25 minutes. I'm like, right, you know, I'm the closest person in America, most likely, that can play football at that level. And that is going to be close enough to Latrobe. And he's like, good. Their backup center just walked off the field and quit. They need someone ASAP. I was like, I'm in the truck. You literally got in the truck, drove up there, signed a contract in the parking lot. Because it was a lockout season, I had to wait another day for some other crap to go through. And then next thing you know, I'm in the Steelers locker room with my name on a locker, sitting next to Marquise Pouncey and Big Ben and Troy Polamalu. And because the centers, which was what I played, I was an offensive lineman in the NFL. The centers are in the same room as the quarterbacks, and the quarterbacks are in the same room as all the big time players. So all of the centers, there was only 4 of us, are, you know, in the same locker area, and they had multiple locker rooms. Dude, I walk in day one and I'm with like every dude I've watched play that I've like admired for a decade because I grew up in Pittsburgh. So that was super cool. I end up making the practice squad the first 6 or 8 weeks of that season. I get released. I go down to Washington. I play there for 2 weeks, get released from there, come home for a few weeks. And then on Christmas, the Steelers call, they bring me back on for the rest of the season. And we lose in the playoffs to Tim Tebow that year. And I come back on through the next year. I get put on the active roster. After that season, they cut me the last day possible of summer camp, where they have the last game of preseasons on Thursday. So I make it through Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday morning, get cut. Rosters in the NFL, a lot of people don't know this, are set on Tuesday afternoons at 4 p.m. And in the NFL, you don't get paid unless you're on a roster on Tuesday, 4 p.m. So, Pittsburgh, the newspapers and stuff, everyone in Pittsburgh knew me because I was been around for a while. I went to Pitt and I was always like in front of the camera and stuff. And they were super hyped and happy to see a local guy making the active roster. Well, that was a shitstorm when they cut me. All the papers and stuff were like, blah, blah, and whatever. And I was pretty bummed out, to be completely honest.
Of course.
So ironically, like I told my dad, when I got the call, we were in Gander Mountain, which is an outdoor store here. And I told him I'd buy him a revolver if I made the squad. So I was looking at matching, if I made the opening day roster, I was looking at matching Colt Pythons. And, yeah, then I got cut. Then I got the call there. I was like, shit. My dad knew, and like stomach dropped. He didn't watch the Steelers for years. And just like that, I was 24 and I didn't know what the hell to do with my life. And that was it. That was the end of my career. I took a couple tryouts, and then I was so fortunate to be able to, grow up in Pittsburgh, go to Pitt, play for the Steelers, that, you can be a guy that can chase the dream for a long time. You can go, I have buddies that did 7-8 years, and they were just going through training camps, trying to make rosters, and then picking up odd jobs during this, when they weren't playing on a team, and getting released and called back and all over the stuff to make a living. And I didn't want to do that. So I took a tryout in Kansas City. I came home. My agent was like, the Eagles want you to come do a tryout. And I was like, nah, dude, I'm done. I was like, I don't, my heart's not in it. I haven't trained in a month and a half. I was like, I wanted to be a Steeler. I was, and like, I'm going to go start pursuing other things in life. And what's interesting is a lot of people could judge me for that. And it's like, no, I didn't quit. Like, you can call it whatever you want. But when you play football at that level for a long period of time, you do nothing else. And people don't get that. So like, I'm 24 years old. My job experience is nothing but football. My real world experience doesn't exist at all. Like, you're living in fantasy land playing football for a living. And so I'm out there trying to do job interviews and like trying to find like what I wanted to do with my life. And I can get an interview pretty easily because of that part of my resume, but there's absolutely nothing to follow up with it. And so for my stake, I was like, I could be 26, 27, 28, whatever, keep trying to chase this, and then get done playing and literally be like, have no job
starting
experience,
over even later.
No value.
Yeah,
I have no value to the workforce. You're just as valuable as some 22-year-old kid graduating college. I mean, that person probably had some sort of internship in college, which I didn't get to do because I showed up to college 2 weeks after I graduated high school, and I was there till I graduated college. So with that in my mind, and I had a shitty girlfriend at the time too, who was very unsupportive. I just like hung them up, and then I started building shit and making stuff like to like clear my mind if I kind of like figure out what I was going to do. And 8 years later, now we're sitting here.
Yeah. So I think that's a big misconception too, is that like everyone thinks that anybody that plays in the NFL is getting these like huge millions and millions of dollars of contracts and all this stuff, and that you're set. And it's just not the case. We've had quite a few NFL players on the podcast.
Yeah. Not the case at all.
Yeah. I mean, I got guys that are, doing real estate on the side and doing this and doing that, because it's like, listen, not everybody is your, 10, 15, $20 million contract. You're like,
dude, there might be like 5% of the team that is like set, untouchable. Rest, you're like a thoroughbred horse.
Yeah.
They'll kill your ass and sell you for glue.
It's kind of like when you were telling your story, it kind of reminded me, and I haven't watched a lot of it, but Ballers with The Rock, where it's like this crazy, just like, I was like, man, this sounds like it's actually like real life.
Dude, it is. I watched the first couple seasons. This also side note, love The Rock. Like I look at The Rock and I'm like, we've done a lot of similar things in life. We should probably be best friends. But yeah, no doubt. I watched the first couple seasons of Ballers, and you're looking at it and going through it, and you're like, they definitely got some guys that are writing for this show that know what's going on. And I actually I played with Rashard Mendenhall, and he was a writer on that show for the first couple seasons. And we were talking at the time and stuff, and I think they did a phenomenal job of.
I've only watched like season 1 and maybe season 2 when I was on planes and stuff.
Oh,
but yeah.
But dude, it's a journey, man. It is, and it's a grind, and it is taxing. And granted, I'm not complaining. I was super blessed to be able to do so. And you get paid exorbitant amounts of money to play a kid's game. But on the flip side of it, you do like, it is a different life, and it's a life that doesn't set you up for the real world. And it's weird to think about now. Like I'm 33. I have unbelievable and amazing things going on in my life. And if you think back on a lot of players, like their careers culminate, if they're lucky, at like 28.
Right.
And then you're like downhill from there as far as what we're doing in life. When now I'm like, I'm 8-9 years into owning my own business, and we have good momentum, as you were talking about. And I'm making great, connections with brands like yourself and going places that I want to go. The sky's the limit going forward. Like football, the limit was coming. And it's very rare to play past like 33, 34, especially in my position. And yeah, man, it was a journey for sure. It was a reality check as well as some unbelievable experience.
Yeah, I mean, you got to check that box. Like that's a life goal. You were a Steeler. You grew up watching. You got to be on the field and a player and wear the jersey. Seems like you have a good relationship with them still. It looked like you were building a sign for them and stuff recently.
They're super cool. A couple people in the front office and stuff. Like they were always fans like of me because I was a local kid and chatty. And I always liked making friends with those people because they're the ones that are behind the scenes. A lot of people don't realize. And there's a ton of turnover and that kind of stuff too. So it's very rare to see some people stick around. The Steelers do a phenomenal job of keeping people for a long term. And so because of that, now that when I was playing, which is super funny, when I was playing football, you were told to stay off social. Don't be stupid. Don't tweet dumb shit. Don't speak your mind. Just be quiet because you're going to doesn't matter. It's the same ththing today. No matter what you say, someone's going to be upset about it. And back then it was like, just don't do it. Now you can't stop it. And because of that, NFL teams see the value in people like myself who are like former players that are like, hey, there's life after playing. And so it's pretty cool. We're doing another project with them here in a couple of weeks. I think you guys will dig that we did doing a little donation to their charity. And I believe it's supporting, I want to say cystic fibrosis this year. And they're going to auction off one of my pieces at their little charity event and stuff. So yeah, absolute blessing to be able to, participate and play for the hometown team. At the time I was a little salty when I got released, but business is business. And that's one thing I've learned on my own that I'm sure you can relate to. That's the hard stop
it's tough, man. Cause you're probably a lot like me where you're friendly, you're chatty, you build a relationship with the guys around you and the people around you. And then when there's that line of like business, and it's a gray area for me, and I have a hard time making business because it's also personal to me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I imagine very similar for yourself. You're not it's not such a hard line in the sand for you. It's probably a bit of a gray area of like.
I couldn't agree more.
You seem like a guy with a big heart.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm a locker room guy at the end of the day. Like, so I was a lineman, and then relating back to the football thing, like, linemen are the guys with their hands in the dirt to get no credit. And when you're a good one, you get really used to that. And it's cool. Like, dude, there was nothing that made me happier than like in college, I got the block for LaShawn McCoy, LaRod Stevens-Howlings, and Dion Lewis, who all went on to have phenomenal NFL careers. And being able, open up a hole, watch that guy go scoot for, 50, 60 yards and a touchdown and have unbelievable years like LaShawn did. It was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Playing for the Steelers, there was a Rolodex of running backs at the time I was there, but stuff's great. And not getting recognized for it, what you end up doing is just building great relationships with the people around you. And like, our offensive line flew to Hawaii. The last year I was with the Steelers, Marquise Pouncey made his like 4th or 5th Pro Bowl, flew the whole line out. We went out there and had a blast. We had great rapport with one another. Still talk to a bunch of those guys today. And those are the types of ways that I took into my business. And now I approach relationships with people like yourself and with my team. And it's very like locker room-ish, which might feel a little bit off the cuff, but like I genuinely care about, how I perform for the people I work with and the type of, benefit I bring to, say, brands I work with or clients that I work with and whatnot. And so, yeah, it's kind of all encompassing. You put your personality out there and you put your heart out there and what you care about. And you expect reciprocation. And sometimes it's hard stop because business is business. And that stuff doesn't matter at the end of the day to some people. So, I do things in a very similar fashion. I think it comes from that root of being an offensive lineman for me, at least reflectively for me.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about YouTube. YouTube is a whole nother beast and animal to get going anymore. I mean, you started, how long ago did you start YouTube now? About 8 years ago, you said?
No, I started building about 8 years ago. I think I put my first video on YouTube in 2016.
Okay.
And that was with no intent except for potentially getting getting the attention of a couple brands so I could get some free tools.
Right. Okay.
I
So
had no clue.
is that why you started it? Like,
Oh yeah.
you're like, let me see if I can get a little momentum and get some free tools and.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was talking to some people in our community that were crushing it on Instagram, and so I started putting out content on Instagram, and I was basically creating behind the scenes for clients because I was doing custom work, and they loved it. They're like, they get to share. Someone has all these followers, and they're showing off their work, and that was a ton of fun. Well, a few of the people I became friends with on Instagram were like, "You need to hop on YouTube." So my first couple videos, the quality is impeccable, and you can go back and look. And I didn't know what I was doing, but I was just putting some stuff out there, and all I was trying to do was supplement the custom furniture business. I was trying to, get some free tools or facilitate working with clients to a point where they had a little bit more of an enjoyable process of working with me that could help for future clients, kind of thing.
So with YouTube being such an animal, at what point did you start getting like real tactical and strategic with YouTube? Like, what you had that one river table pop off. Is that the one that really sent you on momentum that like all of your videos then started getting subscribers, or all your videos started getting views?
Dude, I got so lucky with that. So I knew that table would bang. Like I'll say this, I'll be completely frank. For all the followers that I have on any platforms, I still don't know what the hell I'm doing most days. But I'm out here putting in the work, trying to learn, right?
Yeah, well, you're doing such a good job. I mean, obviously, you guys have some thought and strategy that goes into this at this point. Like,
correct. So I'll bring you through that like kind of journey a little bit. We had a piece of content do 3.5 million views in a couple months, which was that river table back in. I'll pull it up here and get you an exact date. But I was at a point where I literally was like, this is cool, but like, if you want to be good at content, you have to create content for the audience, not for yourself. And this was very difficult for me to understand for a long, long time. And so at that moment, I didn't get that. And I was like, I'm just going to make what I want to make. If they like it, they're going to watch. And like, why aren't they watching these other things? They watch that video. That was kind of my mindset at the time. But I knew that just, being an athlete, when a play works, you run the play again. And if it works again, you run it again. And so everyone was like, dude, you got to make another river table. You got to do another river table. You got to do another table with that glass insert. That thing was killer. And I'm like, nah, I don't want to be known for being that guy. And I giggle because now I'm known for being that guy. But at the time, not what I wanted to be. And I had a pretty closed-minded vision on it because I didn't grasp that if you want to succeed in content creation, exactly what I said, you have to feed your avatar. And so that was February 18th, 2018, I posted that video. And it was right around that same time I started picking up real sponsors that were paying enough money for me to no longer have to completely do custom work.
And you could focus more on YouTube.
Yeah, and I could focus more on YouTube. In my head, I thought that was just make more content. I was like, just make content. Doesn't matter. Now you're a content creator. Just make whatever you want. And I did that for probably another year and a half until about September 2019. At that point, I was like, I'm beating my head against the wall. Nothing's going or growing. I had this one video and everything else is a crapshoot or a guess. I'm over here thinking about way too many variables and not really focusing on what's important, which is I'm going to go back to is that avatar. You want to serve your audience, give them what they want, kind of thing. And so like I did this one table and the price was in the multiple tens of thousands, right? And I published it. I'm looking right now on June 15th, 2018. So about 4 months after I did that river table. And this thing, it's a skyline table. It's 20 feet long. I did like the skyline of Pittsburgh and the base of it and inlaid like metal into the top. I was like, this thing's going to bang just as good as that river table. Looking at it now, it's been, what is it? 3 years. We're at a stout 26,000 views. And like, I thought I had it figured out. And that's what content creation is. It is not about the one video. It is not about, the cluster of videos. It is about the process and it is about consistency. If you want to be making content, you can't just go out there and swing for the fences. Just like at least in my opinion. I always say there's two ways you can make the Hall of Fame, right? You can hit the most home runs in a season for every season you play, or you can have the highest batting average, which is just getting the ball in the infield and getting on base. Well, to get on base, you swing at good pitches. To hit home runs, you're just swinging for the fence. And I didn't like that. And that's what I was trying to do for a long, long time. And about 2 years ago, literally, I started to actually do a deep dive and try to understand more of why content was performing well, the way the content was performing well, and started tweaking my voice and my presentation, thumbnails, titles. Started getting more strategic about repeating content that was working, testing new things, and all kinds of stuff. So about September, October 2019, started to get pretty tactical with it. And since then, we went from about 170,000 subscribers to now we're at 585,000 on that platform. And being completely honest, this year has been slow for us because we've been testing a lot of stuff. But that'd be about when I got tactical.
It's super interesting. Titles and thumbnails. Do you guys put a lot of effort and strategy then into the projects you do and the title? Or okay, we know the build series, the DIY to pro. You guys do 3 different versions of things. Yeah. Is that like a series that you picked up that okay, these do well, and you throw those into the mix as what was the last one you just, the coffee tables? Yeah. And you've done chairs and you've done all kinds of different things.
I have a good friend. His name's Brad Rodriguez. He's got a channel called Fix This Build That, 1 million+ subscribers. Guy really understands how to make content. He has a great content business and is just a great, genuine person. And a very good friend of mine. Alex can attest because him and I and Brad have been to multiple events together. And him and I actually kind of pulled Alex aside at one point and gave him our, how we go about doing things when Alex was making the leap to go full time making content. That's Mr. Build It for those of you, if you got another episode, if you haven't heard. And he actually made the introduction for us, to me at least. And so Brad was a couple years ago, I was making a piece of content. I sent him the idea and I was like, dude, what do you think of this? And he goes, love it. How are you going to follow up with that? And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, think about it this way. Someone's going to watch this one piece of content. If it's great, what's the next piece of content you want them to watch? And I was like, light bulb, right? And in my head, I was like, you know what? I should start thinking more about my content in these segments of what we call buckets. You got to get similar titling, similar thumbnails, similar concepts. That way, if someone watches series. One, that way someone watches one, they'll watch 2, they'll watch 3, they'll watch 4, they'll watch similar things, especially when you're like us who make physical goods, you make a bunch of different stuff. If people show up for one specific thing, you got to give it to them, but then try other stuff. If people start to like that, then you can go back and come back and forth. And so that's where we kind of developed the concept for 3 levels. I will say I stole that concept from a food channel that does 4 levels. And if you watch our first one, I literally say this is my inspiration. But what started to happen in my content as I started to understand my avatar better was we were building such high level, ridiculous stuff that it became unapproachable to a lot of our audience members. And so we wanted to give an opportunity to take a step back and hit those different segments of skill level. And that's where the 3 levels kind of derived from. But if you go and look at my content and you look at my playlists, you'll see that most things within those playlists are very similar, and that is very intentional. Yes.
That's the hardest thing for us, especially thumbnails. I think we can do a decent job with, and that's the big thing. A lot of people, especially starting out, is understanding that for a video to get the 1 million views, 1 million people got to click on it. You got to get them to click. So the title and thumbnail are so more important than the video itself.
So in our planning strategy, we like to think of the title and thumbnail before we even get into the piece of content. Mm-hmm. So we go into the content with a plan for both of those. And if you do that, and especially creating content on YouTube, put yourself in a much more advantageous situation to succeed because you're trying to fit into something specific. You're not just out there, throwing shit at the wall, seeing what sticks, and then picking up the pieces at the end, trying to make something of it.
Yeah. It's so challenging, especially when you're in a genre where you have to be a little clickbaity, but you don't want to be the clickbait guy, and you don't want to be known for something that you get to be known for.
Hey, I thought so. A lot of people use the word clickbait pretty loosey goosey.
Yeah, there's
And what people don't realize is that clickbait is technically when a misleading title or thumbnail doesn't pay off, right? So if you get a piece of content that's like, make $1 million, and then you go into the video and it's like selling you on some course for like multi-level marketing that actually never does anything to help you make money. Well, that's clickbait. But like so clickbait and clicky is how we kind of categorize it, are two different things. And people use those words interchangeable, but just because I created a thumbnail that made you click doesn't mean I baited you, because there's nothing fake about it.
right.
The concept of baiting is like, oh, I got this fake lure. I'm going fishing. I'm going to throw it out there. And you're going to eat it. And the whole thing's fake.
Yeah, it's like a bait and switch where you're like,
yeah, I'm giving you the payoff in my content. I just happen to make a thumbnail that's a little bit, say, shot in a way that has you perceptually seeing things a way that I want you to see them in order to get you to click.
right.
Because it's a game. It's a psychological game, and it's tough.
And a lot of effort goes into that.
And there's a lot of noise out there. There's a lot of competition too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, between YouTube and Instagram, Facebook, like everything's just feeding you stuff, and you have to stand out amongst all that stuff, and it's so challenging and so difficult.
Stuff. Yeah, man.
Cool. Let's talk about being a dad for a little bit. How's it going? How old is your daughter now?
She is 7 months old as of last week, and I am loving every second of it. And as you could probably attest as a father to a young one, I'm completely useless. So I have to give all credit to my wife. I just get to show up. Now that the baby's got a little personality, she smiles. I jiggle her around. We dance a little bit. My wife's doing all the work though, so I'm super blessed in that regard.
Yeah, my daughter. I have 3 girls, by the way. So I hope you don't get stuck in that position. Although it is awesome. I shouldn't say I hope you don't get stuck in that position.
I will say that I've got buddies with 3 girls, and they're like, I would never want to. Like I don't know about you, but I had a little brother. He's 14 months apart, and I don't know how my parents did it. Like,
oh yeah,
we were never. This was pre-cell phone days. We're out like destroying stuff, riding our bikes in traffic, like playing in the mud, like burning shit. Like little boys are.
Yeah, they're punks. Yes, 3 girls is fun. I mean, I have 2 brothers, so it was the same thing for us. Yeah. three boys in the house. It was just chaos. But we grew up in Hilton Head, which, by the way, you were just here, and we come every year. I can't believe I missed you. It was so funny because you posted something. It was funny because we sent you a cruiser, and you were down on the beach, and I was like, that's a familiar look. He must be on the coast somewhere, whatever. And then you posted something, or what did you do? You like shared a story that your wife posted or something. I don't know.
Might have been in a restaurant or place was tagged or something.
It was tagged Hilton Head. I was like, are you son of a bitch? Are you kidding me? So I was like, I got to get a hold of John. I was like, so I called Jade. I'm like, Jade, how do we get a hold of John? He's in Hilton Head. She's like, what? And then I DM'd you, and thankfully you saw it. And then you're like, yeah, we're leaving in the morning. I was like, damn.
Yeah, I'm rolling around with the baby strapped to my chest and one of your harnesses, and I got the book bag, and we're straight up like tactical baby gear to the T, because 100% why we were super pumped to work with you guys was because we knew we were going on vacation, and it's the perfect application for stuff like that during the pandemic, because we're not going out much. And that was awesome, and I was super bummed to hear that we missed you, but we do come back every year, so next year get on.
Yeah. Well, so anyways, growing up in Hilton Head, it was hard to get in too much trouble back in like the 90s. It was a pretty like laid back, chill place.
Yeah.
But we definitely ran around like a bunch of punks for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I think that I look back on it now and I'm like, man, raising kids is one, it's amazing. I'm so blessed. We've, my wife and I have known each other we just had our 2nd anniversary, and we're pretty late in life, when we met and all that, and to have a little girl and just she is so sweet and funny and kind. And we're just to the moon, and she's awesome. I get like my wife, Sara, and her dad are super tight. And I look to like, how their relationship is, and hope that I can someday be some reflection of that to my daughters.
Yeah, for sure. That's my biggest thing. And my biggest motivator is like making sure that I'm a good role model to my daughters as to like what a good man looks like, someone that they can look to marry, somebody similar that's like got the same values and things like that's going to take care of them and whatnot. But I'm also raising them in a way that they're not going to need someone to take care of them. They can be strong, independent women and not need someone else either.
Yeah. Dude, I think that was the number one reason my wife and I clicked so well. Like I was 29, she was 28, but we were both like completely independent, had no need to be in a serious relationship, nor were either one of us like really looking. And when we met, because of that, it was something that made us really work well together. As there's now there's a reciprocation of all the things that go into marriage, but we're both looking at our daughter as like, hopefully I say it all the time, like, hopefully she's just her mom through and through. Like I truly believe in like, the world we live in now and raising, strong, powerful women, my wife being one of them, and whatever, differences we may have in like opinions and stuff like that. I just think that she is the most wonderful woman in the world. And I hope our daughter grows up to be like her and then takes on, a couple of the good traits that I have left over that I think would work well for her. But I'm with you, man. It's definitely something you just want to be, that like kind of character role model from a male's perspective,
100%
for a little girl, and hope that she looks up to, big strong dad as someone she likes to be around, enjoys, or respects. Because I do hear now, you said you have 3. Now there's rumors, and people have put this in my ear, that she'll hit an age about 13 to maybe 16 or 17 where I will be her worst nightmare and she will absolutely hate my guts. And then 17, 18 hits where money becomes a thing.
And they meet you again.
Right back to loving dad.
Yeah.
I don't know if yours are that old, but that's what I hear.
My oldest is 10, and she still thinks I'm the coolest person on the planet, and thinks I'm super cool because I'm,
because you are, duh.
Yeah, of course, right? No, but she thinks I'm super awesome, and she doesn't think I'm an old man and all this stuff. Because like growing up, I used to think my parents were so old. Did you feel the same way? Like I'm 36.
Yeah, dude, I have young parents.
Did you?
And I thought the same thing. Yeah. My mom's not even, my parents aren't even 60.
Oh man.
And I'm 33.
Yeah, good for them. That's awesome. But like, I used to just think my parents were so old, but and now I'm at the age where I thought they were so old. I'm like, well, I'm 36. I'm like, and I asked my kids, my oldest one in particular, because she is a little bit better understanding of age and stuff, and I'm like, you think I'm old? She's like, no, you're only like 36. Like, you're super young. And I'm like, yes, and I don't know if that's because of the things and the activities that I do and stuff. Like I'm out riding skateboards and one wheels and I'm tattooed and I'm playing with fancy cars and building stuff. And I'm not acting like an old man, so maybe that has something to do with it too. And I'm,
if you bring the energy and the vibes, I feel like the only reason I ever thought my parents were old was because they're kind of reclusive. They didn't do much, and I was like, man, they're so boring. Like, they don't do anything. And meanwhile, they were just like, nah, we're just trying to figure this parent thing out because, we're like 25 and got a 5-year-old. Right? Like, could you imagine? Like, my wife and I look back and we're like,
trying to raise you.
Our parents, because what would we? 25 with a kid? Like, I couldn't imagine that.
Yeah, I was 27, I think, when I had my first. Yeah. So, yeah, it's crazy, man. And I think a lot of it too is that I'm so like, what's the word I'm looking? Like, I'm so into all the social media platforms that that they look up to, and like I'm on YouTube and I know all these YouTubers and people that they watch, and like, him? Like, yeah, no, he was just on the podcast or this or that, or people that they see on YouTube that I fly in and they get to hang out with, and we're making TikToks and we're doing this, and they're like, so like, Dad's cool. He's on all the cool stuff that we watch.
Yeah, my buddies who have a little bit older kids are always saying that their kids are bragging about their dad being YouTubers and TikTokers and all this stuff.
Yeah,
because it's a cool thing. And I was like, never thought of that. I wonder what my daughter will think of me if YouTube's still a thing when she's old enough to care.
Right? Yeah. Well, they'd be like, oh God, my dad's a YouTuber. Don't tell anybody. Or that she's going to be.
Right.
Or is it not a big deal? It'll be interesting.
Yeah. It's like, gosh, Dad, stop embarrassing me with your stupid YouTube. That's
so you said you were always in front of the camera, like when you were playing football and stuff. Have you always been super like, what's the word? More outspoken and just like more camera friendly and not shy in front of the camera?
I mean, I would say when you're pretty good at sports in high school and stuff, especially in an area that cares a lot.
You
I was constantly doing interviews,
news interviews.
And literally my senior year, we were a good team, and I was playing really well. It was every night of the week, Tuesday to Friday. After the games, a ton of cameras and stuff in your face. I got pretty used to it then. Then when I got to college, I was a local guy, so most of those guys still knew me, so they wanted to interview me. I was articulate enough to be understood, and I liked it. So I kind of got groomed up through that. Now, dude, you'd be surprised. A lot of guys don't like talking to TV, and there's a lot of guys from all over the country that have very difficult to understand accents.
Yeah.
You come to Pittsburgh, we've got a pretty blanket kind of accent, a little bit of this mixed with a little bit of that, melting pot of cultures here. Then you got guys from the deep South, hard to understand. And we got to go into certain parts of Florida. Those guys are speaking different language sometimes. And they're great people, but it's hard to. So the Pittsburgh news media was like, let's get the guy that speaks Yinzer and throw him on camera. And so
I spent some time. I spent some time on that up in that area. So I mentioned I used to work on cars. So right after high school, I went to WyoTech, which is an automotive tech school.
Dude.
So I went to Blairsville, Pennsylvania, to that campus.
Yep.
Which is nothing, Pennsylvania.
Nope.
Nothing there.
There's a Dunkin' Donuts in WyoTech.
Yeah, right.
Nothing
and
else.
So much so that I couldn't even live in Blairsville. I had to live in Indiana, Pennsylvania, on the IUP campus.
Yeah.
So I had to live in their dorms. It was fun, but I was young, dude. I graduated high school early. I was 17 years old.
Oh, wow.
Living on this college campus, couldn't do anything. This was before Netflix and all that kind of stuff. So I wasn't old enough to go anywhere and go drinking and partying and doing whatever. I wasn't really into that stuff either. I was super hyper focused on building cars and school stuff. And
good for you.
And then I wasn't even old enough to go to Blockbuster and open an account to rent movies. So I had to get some girl to
date yourself a little bit.
I know. I had to get some girl to open up an account so I could rent Blockbuster movies. It was hilarious. So funny. But yeah, growing up in Hilton Head, like I said, it was when I grew up here, there was nothing for kids to do in particular. And now I appreciate it because I'm a little bit older and it's man, this place is super nice. But growing up, I was Hilton Head sucks. I'm getting out of here as soon as I can. So I went up there and we used to go goofing off in Pittsburgh and stuff, but
you found out what suck actually was.
And then I found out what suck was. And I was like, I'm going straight back to Hilton Head when I get out of here. So I ended up straight back here.
You're telling me I got to work in a garage on a floor and it's 20 degrees outside.
Dude,
for months.
I had this little shop in Blairsville that was built in the 40s. There was holes in the roof. It was a dirt floor. And I rented out spaces in it for other WyoTech students to be able to bring their cars in and work on it there because we couldn't always work on them at school or anything. So I was renting out spaces in this garage, but it was straight up dirt floor, rain coming through the roof. It was awful. I was like, this sucks.
Dude, that's my shop where we are right now. If it's pouring, there's water somewhere.
Yeah.
And I rent and stuff, but yeah, dude, Pittsburgh. Things get old here because there's so much.
It's old.
Change.
It's old. I mean, it's an old city, but I'm familiar with there. So when you were talking about Latrobe and all these places, oh yeah.
So I think my Yinzer comment inspired you there. Uh-huh. So did you get a taste of the Yins?
Oh yeah, Yins. And I used to spend some time in Morgantown, West Virginia too. So get a little bit of it down there as well.
Oh yeah, awful place.
It was a fun place.
Oh boy, fun. I had three of my best friends from high school all went to WVU.
Yeah,
and I went to Pitt, and Pitt and WVU are rivals, and we played at the time. They don't play right now because bureaucracies and bullshit. But we would go down and visit, and I don't think there was a single time I went down there we didn't get in a fist fight or someone tried to stab or tase.
Well, West Virginia, they're the ones that were burning stuff in the street. I mean, it's crazy. It's bizarre.
Oh yeah, and I was in college, and you would have been there. It was couch burning time. This is when burning a couch at West Virginia was what they did.
That's it. Yeah.
If you listen to Pat McAfee,
if they win tonight, bring out the fire
burn
trucks.
The city to the ground.
Yeah. It was crazy.
Place was nuts. But you get yourself some. Is that the Appalachian Mountains? No. Yes, kind of.
In West Virginia?
I don't know what mountain range that is, but you get a certain type of person there. And they attest pretty closely to a Yinzer. Like they're drunk a lot, ripping heaters everywhere, cigarettes, just burning cigarette everywhere they go. Like cigarettes are meals.
Yins.
And they got this deep raspy voice. Like,
if
you ain't good, you can get drink down here, right? Corner, go over, and you learn to understand that.
Can you give somebody context of Yins like that's listening? That's like Yins. What the hell does Yins mean? It's kind of like y'all.
Yes. So Yins is a Pittsburgh for y'all, and or yous or whatever else you hear.
It's like you guys. It's like Yins. Yins over there doing this thing or whatever.
Yep. What are you guys doing? What are you guys up to? What are Yins doing? What are you up to? That's how we talk around here. Yeah, it's awesome. I know. Wow.
Travis, have you ever heard Yins before? Yeah, I didn't think so. So
Travis, you're welcome. You're welcome, my friend.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny. You guys are getting ready to move shops here soon, huh?
Is that yes, going sir. Down? Yes. So this is the last week here.
Oh, snap.
Next Thursday is closing, and the move. Yeah. So it's the most stressful I've ever been in my entire life, even with all the rigmarole from the NFL journey and owning a business. And this is what we like to call here, and you can bleep this if you like, but it's nuts to butts. It's
just
pucker time.
Yep. I get it. I've been going through similar stresses. We just bought a new house and moved, and there's just like
we're building a house too, me and my wife.
Mm-hmm.
Pile it on.
That's it. So are you going to build something and do some of the finishing stuff yourself and make content around it? Or are you going to just have home builders build it and be done and not make projects out of your house?
Everything but the basement we're gonna do with the new house. I opted to not have that finished because of multiple reasons. And I do enjoy that work. I enjoy the home remodeling stuff. It doesn't perform as well on my channel, which is a bummer, but it's fun to do. And I think it's great to know, like going back to what I was saying earlier, for like trying to inspire more people to do things that are enjoyable and rewarding and fulfilling. That's definitely one of them. That's the first place most people should start, is like learn to do some basic stuff around your house. You'll start to see how enjoyable it is to be able to transform a room or trim your own bathroom or tile or whatever.
Right.
That stuff's great, and that's kind of where I got and started inspirationally. My old man and my grandfather both worked construction, so I was free labor as a kid, and I always wanted to get into home remodeling and stuff. And when I was playing in the NFL in the off season, you have a lot of time, and Chip and Joanna were like at the boom of their career, so I was watching them like pretty much religiously.
The games.
And you're just like, and I really dig it. I like their home remodeling stuff. So we left the basement undone. We're gonna do some cool projects down there, in the house, and then we're moving into a 10,000 square foot warehouse, bringing the heat.
Yeah, dude. There's gonna be like room for all the activities in there.
Yeah, we got my goons are like, all right, so what are we thinking? Bowling alley, catapult. I'm like, who the hell are you guys? Right? So they're like indoor shooting range. What else have they come up with? Skate ramp. They want to do multiple shop sets of the same stuff. I'm like, do you know someone got to buy all these tools? I'm like,
it's really funny that you say that, because I do the same thing. Like when you're in the content creation world, like for us as a brand, we really try to treat our brand like a media company, because we're trying to be on all these platforms and create content and, have a podcast studio, and we've got a video studio and a photography studio. And, we set all these up to sort of be like sets that when the camera's rolling, like it looks cool. Like my office next door.
Yeah.
Not the office that I really do all my work in anymore, because we have another building now. But so like I still have this office. It's really just like a set to like film stuff, and it just, you know what I mean? And so I totally get like building out these different sets, because you're content creators. Your business model is making content first.
Correct. And if you look at our shop now, we definitely approach it like a set. Like we keep it almost we keep it as clean as we can. It's incredibly well lit. We have things that you probably don't need in a workshop that are add value to content. And we try to hide, we keep our lumber storage and stuff like out of sight. And totally approach it as a set. And that's like the first thing we got to do.
Do you guys use everything that's in there in your sort of set and your camera angles, like that main wall with all the tools on it? You guys use those tools? Or you're just like, don't touch the tools. There's your decorations for our set. Keep it this way.
We use probably 75% of them. There's a couple, like there's like a 2-man saw on that wall that like never has been touched. What's funny though is we take some stuff down, and you can see like, where the UV rays from the sun have like burned the tool into the wall. It's been up there so much. But we do use a lot of them. That was our original intention, was to like have everything in easy access, one, and then two, make it look good because it is a set. We also wanted to create something. If you're in content, you want to create places that are recognizable. So when people see it, they realize who it is before they realize who it is.
Yeah, the set becomes like a character. They do with
sitcoms. Yeah, exactly. And your set becomes a character. And so we actually today just filmed like the final video we'll film in the shop. And it was just like a, kind of like a reflection of the 10 things we wish we would have done different in the shop. And because the shop's a character and that'll change and evolve. You can go back, and I think this is my like fourth shop. Yeah. And number 5 will hopefully be the last one. And we're going to try to blow that thing out of the water as far as set concept goes. Yeah. We've got some big plans in there, and we've got 19-foot ceilings, and forklift abilities and stuff to go bigger and be bigger and be more awesome, and just create kind of like a workshop fantasy factory thing. You see all these dudes, like, you're a car guy. You see all these dudes out there. Like, I've been on the Brian Fuller shop, like, place is unbelievable. He's like, I was like, I would never leave here. This is the coolest place ever. And he literally doesn't. He's like, dude, my wife has to drag me out of here. And then you look at like the Diesel Brothers shop and like Garage Monkey and those, like, dude, man, no woodworkers do this. Like, I'm going to do that. I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to be like, your shop's cool as hell and you build cool shit, but I'm going to make like the coffee tables, but my shop's going to be cool as hell. So that's like,
we're going to get squirrely in a really nice shop.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna like timber frame the interior of a metal building for literally no reason, just to do it
in Pittsburgh, where it's like steel everything. It's like
oh yeah, the building is metal, and we're going timber frame inside the steel building.
It is gonna look cool. It is gonna look cool. Well, at least you have someone else building your house. I was thinking about that. I was just like marinating on like Alex, like. Yeah. Mr. Build It. His whole life is like his home is in a construction zone always.
Yeah, I just hit a point where I was like, my current, okay, so take a step back. Alex doesn't live in an area as old as where I live. So to do a remodeling on a home here, like my house now was built in 1910.
Holy crap. The one you just did the kitchen remodel and all that crap?
Yeah, it's old as shit. You get into the walls and you're literally like, black lung is still like chilling in there. And it's just not as fun. He's doing like newer construction. He did his kitchen remodel. He's pulling stuff out. There's 2x4s and drywall. Dude, I got laughing plaster and asbestos and all this junk. It's just not as enjoyable. So we didn't want to deal with that. And we've been looking to build for a minute. When we knew we were going to have the baby.
Yeah.
We were like, we want to build. We're already out of space and she can't even walk yet. And yeah, we're looking forward to that. And we should be moving early next year, getting there. And then we'll be doing some content, kind of taking a step back towards making more furniture content, more like cool, fun builds instead of the remodeling content. And if we do decide to do remodeling content, we may start a second channel.
Oh, interesting. Have it geared more, have an audience specifically for that on that channel.
Yeah, because I think what a lot of people don't recognize about content creation is, like I was saying before, is that when you create content that people like, you should create more of what they want to see. You got to elevate it and put a twist on it and make slight changes and moves, but make kind of what they want to see. Well, in my situation, what we're trying to navigate through is like, you look at my channel right now, our top performing video for the past like 6 weeks has been this like floating coat rack cool thing that I made. That was like an idea in my head I wanted to make, and a cool video, right? The people that subscribe to my channel and show up to see that kind of content probably don't care to watch me, hang drywall and build and frame a kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
So because my content is so much more on the like fringes with what I build. It's not like I guess it's not like DIY content.
You're building
it's
pieces.
Like professional.
Yeah.
Well, it's professional level like stuff as far as the furniture goes. The DIY community that shows up for the remodeling stuff doesn't watch that. So I create this like shitty dichotomy within my audience. And I love them both, but I think I'm going to have to split them if I want to do more home remodeling content, because this year proved that like it's just not growing the channel. And unfortunately, when you look at it from a business standpoint, you got to grow.
That's it.
I'm complaining, but like we only picked up 100,000 subs so far this year, and we did 300,000 last year. So like
that's so interesting, because from my perspective, it seems like you have lots. I mean, you've had a lot of momentum in the past couple of years, but it seems like you have a lot of momentum recently. But maybe that's just me paying closer attention because we've been working together and doing that kind of stuff. So maybe that's just part of it.
Okay, let me take a step back. We have great momentum right now. Like we've put out some content. We've gotten kind of back into the groove. We'll see what the move does to that momentum. As far as what we're able to create content wise, we've got a solid plan, but plans go astray very quickly sometimes. But last year, when the pandemic hit, I just had my only employee was Sam, and I promised him, I was like, dude, I will not lay you off because we can't afford to run this business anymore because of whatever's going on. I was like, we don't service other people. We don't. We're not going to be creative. Both of us are like, cool, we'll stay home, ordinances and all that shit. Like, do whatever we need to get through this situation. But we're not going to let the economy and outside influences cripple this business. I was like, if we're going out guns blazing on our own stakes, and we're going to put the work in. So we came up with a plan and a strategy to just like start hammering through content. And it was about literally right when the pandemic hit, like last April. We've been consistently put out a piece of content every single week since, and revolving through those kind of like buckets that I was talking about earlier, being more strategic about it. And during that time, we caught some massive momentum coming into the summer. Mm-hmm. And we had a couple videos doing multi-million views, very similar to Alex's channel. A lot of people were watching more content because they were stuck at home. And we just hit a good wave there, picked up, doubled, almost tripled the channel in that time. And then probably me being puffy chested came into the end of the year. We hired an editor full-time in-house. We hired someone to manage merchandise side of the business, and started trying new things. We tried to do more of the remodeling series style content because I personally really like to watch that. And then that growth started to slowly shrink. And now because I run a business and that's what this is, looking back, looking at data and analyzing and trying to make moves based on that data, the momentum is still, and it's still good. It's better than what it was before the pandemic, but we want to get back to where we were. We know where we were creating a lot of waves, bringing a lot of new people into the ecosphere and providing a lot of value to new people.
Yeah.
And that's on us as content creators, kind of figure out what that looks like and how to speak to that.
Awesome. All right. Well, we'll wrap it up here. If you guys, we did a video with John. We sponsored a video. He builds himself a large man-size bouncy chair thing.
Very large man. But for people that may not be watching the video podcast, I am 6'3" and I weigh 300 pounds. So
he's a full-size man, as my brother likes to call himself, because he's a full-size man.
Yeah. So I made a baby bouncer
with all the little the chair. So try to picture this: a chair that the baby sits in and spins around, and there's little activities in different sections of it. John built one of those for himself that's got like a meat cutting station. Like a laptop station, a beer station, it's got all the things.
Air conditioning. We built in a fan.
That's right. It was comical. You're like, I need this alligator clip on this arm to hold this. I was like,
in case I wanted to eat while I was working. Right. We got a little meat clip. Yeah, that was fun, man. I think that the people, the audience that viewed that video, it really resonated well. And I think anyone that's a dad, you look at your kids' toys and you're like, man, these are awesome. He's like, what did I play with? I played with like a stick and a cardboard box, and my daughter's like in all this like super cool stuff.
Fancy stuff.
I want that. But you can have it as a grown man.
got to build it yourself. So we'll leave that video in the description so you guys can go watch it because it's pretty funny. It's pretty comical. Otherwise, John, where can these guys find you on YouTube and Instagram?
You can just poke my name into any platform and it'll pop up. Everything's under John Malecki or John Malecki Builds, one or the other. We're most active on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok as of recent. Yeah, and then we're also on Facebook and got a website, and we basically do it all. Like we approach our business the same way as you, full blown media company kind of thing.
Right. Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
If you're interested in learning to build stuff yourself, we've got a ton of plans and kind of tutorial-esque stuff out there too. You can check out if you just don't want to just watch me clown around. You want to make some stuff.
That's right. That's right. Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you again for coming on. You know what? Hold on real quick. I forgot to read my dad joke. I do this every episode. I tell a really bad dad joke.
See, my jokes were so good you didn't need a dad joke.
Well, that's right. That's right. I was at the thrift store when I saw an antique radio. The card on it said, "For sale, $1, stuck at max volume." I thought that was a deal I couldn't turn down.
I gotta say, I've always been a sucker for a dad joke. Now a little bit more than before, but that's a good one. I might have to use that one.
I've got a whole book of them here.
That's phenomenal. So it's like one of those old school calendars that you peel off.
Yeah, my mom.
Dad joke of the day. Oh, I love it. Good purchase, Mom.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks, dude. I really appreciate it. Looking forward to talking again sometime here in the future, especially when next time you come to Hilton Head. You'll have to come here. We'll do another one.
We'll do it on the boat.
That's right.
Getting some red drum, right?
We will do that for sure. Awesome. Cool. Guys, thanks for listening, watching. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up, leave your ratings, reviews, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. I appreciate it. I'll see you guys in the next video or episode or whatever you want to call this.